Okay, we'll start with the inequalities. So here we have x plus 17. So we want to deal with this constant first. So we subtract 17 from both sides. 17 minus 17 is 0. So we get 0 is less than or equal to x. Okay, on number 2, this is one where we have a big fraction on one side. So in that case, our first thing to do is multiply both sides by the denominator because we want it to cancel out. So we multiply this side by 5 and this side by 5. So this is really 5 divided by 5, so that's why it cancels out, because 5 divided by 5 equals 1. And negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So now we look over here, we have a constant we got to move. So we will subtract 4 from both sides. We get n is greater than negative 19. Number 3, n is being divided by 20, so we need to do the opposite of that and multiply both sides by 20. So again, the reason this cancels is this 20 is on top, this is on the bottom. So it's really 20 divided by 20, which is equal to 1. And 5 times 20 is 100. Number 4 is similar to number 2 in that we have this one big fraction right here. And we need to get rid of the denominator, so we multiply both sides by 8. So this 8 and this 8 cancel out, leaving just r plus 6. And 2 times 8 is 16. We subtract 6 from both sides, and we get r equals 10. Okay, 5 is similar. We need to get rid of this denominator, so we multiply both sides by negative 3. So the negative 3's cancel. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Now we still have a constant that's over there with the x, so we need to add 4 to both sides because it's being subtracted. That's minus 4. So we've got to do the opposite because negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So we get just x by itself on this side. And negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14 on that side. Number 6, we need to subtract 3 from both sides. We get k over 8 equals 2. We multiply both sides by 8, and we get 16. Okay, got another one where we've got a big fraction. So again, when the whole side is a fraction, the first thing you should do is multiply both sides by its denominator. So multiply both sides by 9. We get v minus 6 is less than negative 9. Then we add 6 to both sides. And we get v is less than negative 3. Okay, number 8. So we have a constant, and I know this is division, not multiplication, but basically this works like a coefficient because it's connected to the variable. So we deal with the constant first. We add 8 to both sides. So that gives us v over negative 10 equals negative 2. Then since v is being divided by negative 10, we do the opposite and we multiply both sides by negative 10. So they cancel out on this side, and we get negative 2 times negative 10, excuse me, which is positive 20. Now this was not an inequality, but if it had been, that would have been a time we'd have to flip the inequality sign because we multiplied by a negative number. Okay, number 9, big fraction again. So hopefully now you got the rhythm. We multiply both sides by its denominator. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. And then we add 8 to both sides. We get negative 4 equals m. Back to inequalities. So we've got a constant here. So we'll subtract 9 from both sides because we want to get rid of that constant. It's being added, x plus 9, so we do the opposite, we subtract 9. So 9 minus 9 is 0. 26 minus 9 is 17. Okay, number 11. Yet again, big fraction, so we multiply both sides by its denominator. That cancels out over here, leaving us m minus 10. Negative 2 times 14 is negative 28. We add 10 to both sides. We get m is greater than negative 18. Okay, we're over halfway there. So here we have a constant with the variable. So we will add 15 to both sides. So we do the opposite. This is a negative 15. So to cancel out, we have to add 15. Negative 15 plus 15 is 0. So we have r equals negative 19. Okay, 13. We have a constant and a coefficient. We always take care of the constant first. So we subtract 10 from both sides. So that's a positive 10, so we have to subtract it. Negative 60 minus 10 is negative 170. We divide both sides by 10. We get x is less than negative 17. (14) is very similar. We have a coefficient and a constant. We take care of the constant first, so we add 5 to both sides, because negative 5 plus 5 is 0. And 46 plus 5 is 51. And this is 3 times r, so we divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 51 divided by 3 is 17. X is being divided by 20, so we've got to do the opposite and multiply both sides by 20. So those 20s cancel out. And 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. You just tack the 0 on, so our answer is negative 240. Okay, on 16, it's negative 5 times k. So there's nothing else to take care of except there's negative 5. We got to do the opposite of multiplying and divide. And because we divided by a negative number, we have to flip this inequality sign the other way to make it a less than. And negative 25 divided by negative 5 is positive 5. (17) Negative 11 times a. So we do the opposite. We divide by negative 11. We get negative 9 equals a. Okay, 18, x plus negative 4. So remember, the goal is to eliminate these numbers on the side that's with the variable. So this is a negative 4, so we want to do the opposite and add 4, because the goal is to make it equal 0. So negative 4 plus 4 is what will equal 0. So that's why we add 4 to both sides. Okay, 19. We add 3 to both sides. So we take care of the constant first. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. M is being divided by 6, so we have to do the opposite and multiply by 6. And we get m equals 6. And our last one, we have a coefficient and we have a constant. We always want to get rid of the constant first. So I'll add 8 to both sides. We get 6n is less than 12. Then we divide both sides by 6, and we get n is less than 2. So I also encourage you to look over those 5 steps I gave you on the very first set of notes, because if you remember those, it will really help a whole lot deciding what direction to go when you see the problem.